Calling All Cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Ventura Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all cars to broadcast 235 regarding a missing person. Be on the lookout for Ray Oswald, described as male American, 5 feet 10 or 11 inches, 150 to 60 pounds. This man was last seen in the vicinity of Somis on September 11. That's all. Rosenquist.
We hear much these days about an adequate defense, and all agree that the United States should be able to successfully defend itself if invaded by enemy forces. We are not looking for trouble, but if trouble comes looking for us, we must be prepared. When it comes to their automobiles, some motorists are attempting to beat off the ruthless attack of such armed-to-the-teeth aggressors as wear, tear, friction, and breakdown with inadequate pea-shooter motor oil. It can't be done, friends. The only language these forces of destruction understand is the last word in modern automotive armed resistance, Realube. This superior motor oil not only defends your motor against the onslaught of extreme heat at your highest speed, it fights back, and never yet has it lost a battle. With a lightning-fast encircling movement, Realube completely surrounds your motor with a protective armor that cannot be dented by the fiery blasts of the enemy. So pure, so entirely free of traitorous sludge, gum, and carbon-forming elements is this 100% paraffin-based motor oil that even freezing weather cannot keep Realube from marching on to perform its appointed duty. Give your motor an adequate defense against the rigors of summer driving, friends. Pilot your mechanized unit into the red and white Rio Grande headquarters nearest you in the morning and rearm with a crankcase full of Realube, the newest and finest motor oil sold in the West. The story we are to hear tonight was taken in the main from files of the office of the Sheriff of Ventura County. We have asked, therefore, that Sheriff Howard Durley of Ventura open our program. Sheriff Durley.
It is not the job of the law enforcement officer to look behind the crime for a motive that may or may not mitigate the offense. It is for the officer to find the criminal and bring him to justice. In the story we are to hear tonight, that is exactly what happened. It is doubtful if the case could have been so successfully concluded without the cooperation of the officers of other law enforcement districts. And in this case stands out another example of that splendid cooperation of police officers that is making the criminal's profession a most unprofitable one. I wish all to especially cite the work of District Attorney William T. Selby and his men in helping solve this case. I shall reserve further comment on the story for the end of the program.
On the morning of October 26th, the telephone in the office of Sheriff Durley in Ventura rang an insistent summons.
Sheriff Durley speaking.
Sheriff, this is Constable Ellis at Camarillo.
Oh, yes, Ellis. What can I do for you?
It's been reported to me that there's something wrong up at one of those cabins close to Somas.
What seems to be the trouble?
Well, as far as I can make out, the place is pretty torn up. And it looks like there's a lot of bloodstains on the floor.
Have you been in the place?
No, it's locked up. I thought it might be best if you sent some of your men down to look the place over.
All right, I'll do that. I'll send Under Sheriff Sider down there right away. He'll pick you up.
Okay, Sheriff. I'll be ready.
Oh, Bill?
Want me, Howard?
Yes. Take Carl Wallace and run down to Camarillo. Pick up Constable Ellis and take a look at the cabin he thinks needs investigating.
What's the matter with it?
I don't know. Ellis says it's all torn up inside. Has a lot of blood on the floor. Maybe somebody spilled something on the floor that looks like blood, but you better take a look anyway.
You think we better take along one of the DA's men just in case?
Yeah, might not be a bad idea at that. I'll call Arthur Waite, see if he wants to go down there with you. You tell Wallace to get his camera and stuff together.
Under Sheriff Sider, Deputy Carl Wallace, and Chief Deputy District Attorney Waite sped to Camarillo, picking up Ellis en route. Ellis directed them to the cabin in Somas.
Carl, you better get some pictures of this place from the outside before we go in. I think one of the door and the padlock will be a good one, and then we can shoot a couple through the window.
Okay.
We're going to have to break the lock, Bill.
No key?
Well, whoever locked it must have taken it with him. The owner says he didn't have it locked.
Well, won't be much trouble to get in there, I guess. You got your pictures, Carl?
Got the door and the lock.
I'll set up at the window while you're getting the door open.
You got a hammer with you, Ellis?
No, I haven't.
There's one in my box right over there.
Right. Oh, yeah. This ought to do the trick, all right. Man alive, look at that.
Yeah, I told you this place was a mess.
Whoever left this place did it in a hurry.
And how? Oh, better let Carl get some pictures of this stuff before we start moving it.
If you can get a shot from here, I think you can get those stains in.
Yes, I believe you're right. I'll try it here. Do you want some more?
You better get one from the northwest corner, too, Carl.
Okay.
Where did Mr. Wade go?
He's looking over the ground outside.
Looks like those blankets were piled up to hide something.
Yes, and I see what it was. Look. It's a tent pole.
Looks like blood on it.
Here's a hat that was under that bedding.
Stetson. Sold by Evans Style Headquarters in Pomona.
Hey, here's something that may come in handy. A chauffeur's badge issued by the state of Kansas.
Ought to be able to trace that easily enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't see anything else to do around here except take this stuff back to Ventura and tag it for identification.
You know, there's a bare possibility that some of those boys over at the CCC camp might know who was staying here lately.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Hey, let's drive over and have a talk with some of them.
Well, quite a bunch of the boys around.
Yeah, they're through work for the day.
Well, we might as well find out what we can. Hey, boys. We'd like to get a little information from you, fellas.
Oh, sure. Say, what can we do for you?
Have you seen anybody around the cabins up the road here?
Why?
Well, we are just trying to find out if anybody's been seen around that little place on Donlin and Los Angeles Avenue.
Anything wrong up there?
We don't know yet.
I think this man knows something about this.
I do, too.
Hey, where you fellas from?
I'm from the sheriff's office. This is Constable Ellis.
Wow, why didn't you say you were officers? Sure, I seen a couple of fellas around that cabin. Yeah, I seen them up there myself.
That so? When was this?
Oh, about a month ago. Well, maybe a month and a half.
How did you happen to send the fellows up to that cabin?
Well, I was in camp here one evening about sundown when these two fellas come up, in a car, and I stopped and asked me.
Hey, buddy, any place around here where we can camp out a while?
Yeah, it might be.
Where is it?
Well, there's lots of places where you can camp out, but there's a cabin on this road just a ways. Yeah, right close to Los Angeles Avenue. Nobody's been living there for some time now. Yeah, you ought to be able to stay there.
Yeah, but we can't pay rent on a cabin.
Well, who's going to make you? The place is empty, and the worst they can do if they find you in there is to run you out. Yeah, maybe charge you $1 or $2 for rent.
Guess it's worth trying anyway.
Sure. Hey, so you got a Texas license. You just drive through?
Nope, can work in the orchards over around Redlands.
Well, I think you'll be able to get some work around here. Yeah, if you're looking for it. I'll be seeing you. Then him and this other fellow, they drove on up the road.
Did you see them after that?
Oh, sure. I dropped in on him several times. The older fellow and I had a lot to talk about. You know, me being a CCC camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said he'd been in the Army himself. Yeah, he didn't have any trouble getting a good job whenever he wanted it.
What was the other man like?
Well, he wasn't exactly a man. Well, that is, he looked like a kid, about 17 or 18 maybe. Just a youngster. But he was kind of husky.
What kind of a car was it?
Oh, gray Ford Coupe, I believe.
With a Texas license number, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
Have you seen these fellas lately?
Well, kind of think of it. Bitch, I haven't seen either one of them for more than a month. No, not since the first part of September.
Don't happen to know the names they went by, do you?
Well, let's see now. Well, all I ever heard a youngster call was Floyd. The older man's name was Ray. Oh, Ray something. Yeah, that's right, Ray.
Ever see either of these fellas with a chauffeur's badge on his hat?
Well, I think the young fellow had some sort of a badge. Well, I don't pay much attention to it, though.
Well, we won't worry about that. That'll be easy enough to check up on.
Back in the office, Deputy Wallace dispatched a teletype message to the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles of the state of Kansas, the original place of issue of the chauffeur's badge.
Please forward any information regarding holder of Kansas chauffeur badge number 52769. Urgently need present address if known. Signed, Durley, Sheriff's Office, Ventura County, California.
Badge number 52769, issued to Glenn Gary, Holton, Kansas. Present address unknown. Permit expired June 1937. Suggest you communicate with Sheriff Singer of Holton. Signed, Neckermer, Motor Vehicle Department.
Sheriff R.E. Singer, Holton, Kansas. Request information regarding present address. Glenn Gary, resident, your county.
Glenn Gary, last heard from at Redlands, California. Working fruit ranch. Signed, Singer, Holton, Kansas.
To Sheriff Shea of San Bernardino County and to the Chief of Police of Redlands. Please check on present address of Glen Gary, supposed to be in Redlands. Do not question, but wire Durley, Sheriff, Ventura County.
Unable to locate any person by the name of Gary in Redlands. Signed Shea, San Bernardino.
Department of Motor Vehicles, License Division, Sacramento. Request information regarding motor vehicle registration to Glen Gary, Redlands, or anywhere in California.
No motor vehicle registration for Glen Gary. No visitor's permit issued in his name. Division of Registration, Motor Vehicle Department, Sacramento.
Unable to make further headway with the information at hand, the officers handled the case, contented themselves with running down every lead, no matter how important it seemed. At last, on January 7th, word came from Sacramento regarding the registration of a car to Glen Gary of Redlands. Deputy Wallace immediately conferred with Sheriff Durley.
Well, Sheriff, here's something definite to go on in that Somas case.
New lead?
The Motor Vehicle Department just wired that 2 cars have been registered to Glen Gary. One of them is a Cadillac sedan, the other one's a Ford Roadster.
Well, that's something to work on. What address does this fella give?
Well, on East Pearl Street in Redlands.
I guess you and Ed Hearn might as well hop over there and have a look at things. I believe Sheriff Shays had Gordon Cram working on the case from that end. Might get in touch with him, see what you can find out from this fella Gary.
Okay, Chief. I'll find Ed and shove off. Stop here, Cram. We'll look around a little. You see anybody, Hearn?
No, house is vacant. Sure this is the right address?
It's the one the Motor Vehicle Department gave us.
I've been out here before, and there was somebody living in this place. I know the neighborhood pretty well. They haven't been gone long.
Know if this place was occupied in September?
I think it was, but I don't know who lived here.
Know who owns it?
Yeah, the bank.
Might look the place over, Carl.
I guess so. If we don't find anything here, we can check with the post office for forwarding addresses.
Thoroughly going over the place, looking for possible clues, Hearn, Wallace, and Deputy Cram from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office at last realized that their search was futile. Checking with the post office, it was found that no forwarding address had been left for the occupants of the house on Pearl Street.
Now, that doesn't make sense.
Seems awfully peculiar the fellow would leave without making some provision for his mail.
Maybe he's not expecting any.
On the other hand, he may be just careless. He hasn't changed his address with the Motor Vehicle Department either.
Well, where do we go from here?
If that bird's in Redlands, we'll find him if we have to ring every doorbell in town.
Wait a minute. No matter where he goes, Gary's got to have gas and electricity. That is, if he lives in town.
Well, why don't we check with the Bureau of Power and Light? The office is right around the corner.
Come on, let's do it. We might find out something.
Good morning. Could I help you?
You might. We want to see the manager of the office.
Yes, sir. Just come right through here, please.
Don't know why we didn't think of this before. This is the logical place to start from.
Right in here, please. Mr. Jones will see you in just a moment.
Thanks. Do you know this fellow, Cram?
Don't believe I do.
I imagine he'll help us if he can.
Oh, good morning, gentlemen. Something I can do for you?
I hope so. This is Mr. Hearn, Ventura County Sheriff's Office.
How do you do, Mr. Jones?
This is Mr. Cram, San Bernardino Sheriff's
Glad to know you,
Office.
Jim.
How do you do?
I'm Carl Wallace from Ventura.
Oh, I'm very glad to know you, Mr. Wallace.
Now, we have an idea that you can help us, if you will. We realize that you don't have to do it, but it will be a favor to us, if you will.
Why, I'll do whatever I can, gentlemen. What's your problem?
Well, we have an address here for a man named Gary, Glen Gary, and we find that the house is vacant at that address. Now, we want to know if you have a service connection record on that name for any other address.
Just a minute.
Yes, sir?
Mary, have we had a change of address or any service connection on Glen Gary within the last month?
Yes, sir. We have a Glen Gary at 23 Sacramento Street, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mary. 23 Sacramento Street. There you are, boys. Hope that'll help you out.
I've got a hunch it will, Mr. Jones.
Hey, Carl, there's number 23, and there's a Ford Coupe parked in front.
Yeah, that's all right, except it's a black car, and the one we're looking for is gray.
Ever hear of paint?
Uh-huh. Got a Texas license number, though. Look, Cram, let's drive on around the corner, and I'll go back and find out about that car.
Okay, we'll wait for you.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
Yes?
Good morning. I'm doing a little checking up on old automobile licenses and out-of-state cars.
No, I see.
Are you Mrs. Gary?
Yes?
That car parked out in front, does that belong to you?
No.
Belongs to a man named Oswald. Ray Oswald.
Is he here?
No, he isn't.
Well, how did the car happen to be here?
My brother left it here right around Christmas time, or a little before.
And where's your brother now?
I think he's back in Kansas.
Kansas, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you say this Oswald fellow is?
Well, I think he's in jail. My brother said he had been arrested for stealing gasoline.
Oh, you don't know where that was, do you?
Up close to Ventura someplace, I understand.
You haven't been driving that car, have you?
No, sir. We tried to get a license for it, but we couldn't. So we just left it parked there.
I see. Well, don't try to use it till you get a license for it.
No, we won't.
By the way, what's your brother's name?
Floyd. Floyd Krantz.
And he's back in Kansas?
Yes, sir. Holton, Kansas. He came out here with us last June, I think it was. Yes, the latter part of June. He went back to Holton just a few weeks ago.
By the way, Mrs. Gary, where's your husband?
He's working on the Arch Ranch, out on West Pioneer Boulevard.
Well, never mind. You tell him I'll be around to see him later. And not to drive that car without a license.
No, I'll tell him.
How'd you make out, Carl?
That's the car, all right. It's been painted. I got a good look at it before I left. There's some gray color showing under the black in spots.
Who does it belong to?
A fellow named Oswald.
Never heard of him.
Gary works on the Arth Ranch. You know where it is?
Sure, out on Pioneer.
Now, let's go out and talk to Mr. Gary. There's a fellow sitting on the running board of that car. Let's talk to him.
Isn't that the number of the Cadillac that's registered to Glengarry?
Oh, yes, that's it.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
You don't happen to know a man named Gary who works around here, do you?
Glengarry?
Yes, that's the name.
Know him?
Well, maybe. Why?
Oh, just want to talk to him.
What about?
You know him?
Sure.
You know where he is?
Sure.
Where?
Right here. I'm Glengarry.
Oh, that's so. We're from the sheriff's office. I want to ask you about that Ford parked in front of your house.
Yeah? What about it?
Been driving it?
Oh, a little.
Without a California license?
Well, I couldn't get one.
Why not?
No pink slip. I don't know the car.
Who does?
Well, a fellow named Oswald.
Ray Oswald?
Yeah.
Where'd you get the car?
My brother-in-law left it in here.
What's his name?
Krantz, Floyd Krantz.
Where's he?
He's back in Kansas. Been back there a couple of weeks.
Where's Oswald?
Why, Floyd said he was in jail up north somewhere for stealing gasoline. He got 6 months for it.
How did Floyd get the car?
Well, he said Oswald asked him to keep it till he got out. Floyd had to go back to Kansas, so he left the car with us. He said he'd write Oswald where to find it.
I see. Well, look, you'll get into a lot of trouble if you drive that car without a license. We're going to tow it down to a garage in Redlands and store it. If you get hold of Oswald, tell him to check in with the motor vehicle department about that license.
Oh, sure, I'll be glad to.
Oh, and incidentally, if you hear from Floyd, tell him he'd better get in touch with Oswald about that car.
Okay, I will. I just got a letter from him this morning, but he'll be writing again in a week or so.
Is that so? What's his address? We might as well get in touch with him ourselves.
Okay, here it is. It's 810 Ohio Street, Holton, Kansas.
Oh, thanks. By the way, did you ever see this before?
Well, sure. Well, that's my chauffeur's badge. I sent it to Floyd last year, just after we got out here.
You mean Floyd used it all last summer?
Well, yes, he said he lost it. Hey, well, where did you fellows get it?
Oh, it was turned into us.
Well, it's expired now anyway. I wouldn't have any use for it.
Well, we'll just keep it in our files then, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's all right. If I can help you out any time, let me know.
Oh, thanks. We'll do that.
By the way, Oswald's suitcase is down at my house. You'd better tell my wife to give it to you.
We'll do that, too.
What's on your mind, Carl?
It just occurred to me that we're doing an awful lot of work on the assumption that somebody's been murdered. When, as a matter of fact, this guy Oswald may be safe and sound in somebody's jail.
Yeah, that's easy to find out.
Yes, it is. Meantime, though, let's look at that car over there and get that suitcase. Maybe we'll find something.
What are you trying to find in the back of that Ford, Carl?
Blood.
Yeah, I knew it. Ever since you've been in that laboratory, you've been one of these scientific sleuths.
Yeah, I know. Give me a hand with these things in here.
Well, hand them out to me.
Well, here's a wrench, old pair of pants, a tire pump. Uh-oh.
Don't tell me. Let me guess. It's blood.
Maybe. Here's something else that might prove interesting. Unless I miss my guess, that is blood on that piece of tin. Remind me to get a bottle of glacial acetic acid on my way back. I'll need it to run a benzodine test on this stuff.
Returning to Ventura, the officers went over every piece of evidence thus far collected, then met in Sheriff Durley's office to discuss plans.
Well, boys, we've really got a case on our hands, though it's about the craziest case I've ever seen. We're not positive a murder's been committed. We have no body and no suspect.
Look, Sheriff, we found human blood all over that cabin up at Somas. We found that chauffeur's badge, and we've traced it to this fellow Kranz. We know that whoever had that badge was in that cabin. We also know that there was another man in that cabin, and we know it was Ray Oswald.
What makes you so sure?
You remember that suitcase?
Yes.
You remember we found a penitentiary discharge for Ray Oswald from Arkansas in that suitcase?
Sure.
Well, this morning I got Ray Oswald's fingerprints back from Arkansas, and they match fingerprints we got off Oswald's car.
Nobody's saying the car doesn't belong to Oswald.
Well, don't you?
Oh, come in, Mr. Selby. I've been talking to Wallace about that Somas case.
Oh, yes. Who's working with you on that, Wallace?
Ed Hearn. He's in bed with the flu.
Well, the sheriff thought that as district attorney I ought to be getting in on this.
Well, I was just telling him that I know positively from fingerprint identification that Ray Oswald was in that cabin at Somas.
How do you know?
Well, here's a clock we found up there. Right here on the back, see? We have a fine set of prints. They are Ray Oswald's fingerprints.
Yeah, well, then that definitely places him in the cabin prior to last September.
That's right.
Where is he now?
Nobody knows. Floyd Kranz told the Garys that Oswald was in jail for stealing gasoline. But we've checked every jail in California and parts of Arizona and Nevada, as well as Washington and Oregon, and no man of his description or with his prints is in jail.
What do you think had happened to him?
Well, as I told the sheriff, there's blood on the cabin floor and on the beds. And I found blood in the turtleback of the coupe. Now, obviously, something had been carried in that turtleback. And I think it was the body of Ray Oswald.
This is all a little fantastic, Carl. We've got nothing to establish a murder. The man might have had a nosebleed for all we know.
Now, that won't explain the blood on the floor, the signs of a heavy object having been dragged over the floor and out to the road, nor the stains on the tire pump, nor the stains on the floor of the car under the floor covering. Now, those things aren't accidents.
But they're not necessarily murder either.
Besides that, where's Oswald? Kranz said he was in jail. Well, obviously he's not. Now, it doesn't make sense that he'd just disappear, leaving all his stuff behind.
Nothing in this case makes sense.
Besides that, I found this little book in the glove compartment of the car. Now, here's a notation. Ventura Beanfields, $5.50. Now, this book has Floyd Kranz's name on it, so obviously they were up there together. Kranz is in Kansas. But where's Oswald?
Well, Carl, maybe you have got a case here. Oh, Howard, you wire the sheriff back in Holton. That's the place, isn't it?
Yes, Holton, Kansas.
Well, you wire him to pick up this Kranz boy, and Carl and I will take a run back there and see what we can find out.
Accordingly, on January 22nd, District Attorney Selby and Deputy Wallace left for Holton, Kansas. Meantime, Sheriff Singer had arrested Floyd Kranz on a vagrancy charge, holding him for the California officers. 3 days later, they sat in the office of Sheriff Singer, questioning the suspected man.
Floyd, these men want to ask you some questions, so just sit right down over there.
Okay. Anybody got a match?
Yes, here.
Thanks.
Ever been in California, Floyd?
Sure.
Where'd you live?
With some relatives in Redlands.
How long ago?
Or from July to sometime in November or December.
Live anywhere else except Redlands?
No.
Never lived up close to Ventura?
Give me another match, will you? I can't keep this pipe lit. No, I never been any further north than Los Angeles.
This your notebook?
Well, let me see. Yeah, that's mine.
That your writing?
Yeah, that's mine.
It says Ventura Beanfields, $5.50. What about that?
I never wrote that.
Who did?
I don't know.
Did Ray Oswald write it?
Give me another match, will you?
How about it, Floyd? Do you know Ray Oswald?
No.
Ever ride in the Ford coupe with a Texas license number?
No, I never did.
Ever see anything like that badge, Kranz?
Yeah, I've seen lots of them.
Yes, you probably have, that being a Kansas chauffeur's badge. But have you ever seen that one?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's put it this way. Did you ever see a Kansas badge like that in Redlands, California?
Yes.
Where?
My brother-in-law, Glenn Gary, he had one.
What did you do with it?
Well, he gave it to me.
And what did you do with it?
I pinned it on my hat.
And where's your hat?
What's the use of all this beating around the bush? I know you guys are from California, and I know what you want. Come on, let's get it over with.
All right, Floyd. You know what we want? Now, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, I met this guy Oswald in the pool hall in Redlands. He asked me where I was working, and I told him I wasn't working right then, and he asked me if I'd like to go north with him around Santa Barbara. I said I would, and So we loaded up in his Ford and started out.
Did you stop anywhere on the way, Floyd?
Oh, yeah. We stopped and cooked supper that night. Then we went on up the Highway 99.
Stop anywhere else?
Well, when we got close to Ventura, we stopped at a CCC camp and talked to a fellow about a place to stay. And, well, he told us about a cabin up the road a piece, so we went up there and started living in the place. He said it wouldn't cost us nothing unless somebody caught us up there.
What did you do then, Floyd?
Well, we worked in the bean fields a few days, but I never got any money for it.
Why not?
Well, it was Saturday, the 11th of September. Oswald went over and got the check, and then when we came back... Did you get the check?
No.
What, are you trying to kid me? I want my part of the money.
Well, you ain't going to get it. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think nothing of it. I just want my money.
Yeah? What for?
Well, I need some clothes, some work clothes.
You got enough clothes. How many times do I have to tell you about keeping those ants out of the sugar?
Oh, what do you think I am? I can't keep the ants out of the sugar.
Well, it's your job to keep things straight around here. You ain't done nothing since we got up here but waste things. First, you won't eat the meat because it's tainted. Next, you don't like the bread because it's dry and hard. Now it's ants in the sugar. Can't you do nothing but beef?
I can't help it about the ants. I ain't got nothing to stop them with.
For the love of Mike, they're in the jam, too. You've let those lousy ants spoil everything. I ought to give you a belt in the jaw.
Oh, yeah? Didn't you get any ideas like that, fella?
Oh, tough guy, huh? Look, kid, don't get hard with me or I'll bounce a can of beans off that thick skull of yours.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm getting fed up with that pickle puss.
Well, don't get any ideas of changing it.
Here's a present for you, pal.
Keep away from me, Ray. Keep away, I tell you.
I'm going to change that baby face of yours, you little punk.
Keep away from me, I tell you. I'll break this tent pole of your head.
Try it, and I'll break every bone in that screwy head of yours.
Give away! Give away!
Oh.
Ray. I killed him. He's dead. He's dead.
In just a moment, Sheriff Durley will give us additional facts about the program. Friends, you can readily appreciate the handicap under which Sheriff Durley and his men would have worked had they been forced to pursue the automobile of the criminal in a horse and buggy. On the contrary, they employed the most modern facilities known to law enforcement authorities. The teletype, the equipment of criminological experts, up-to-the-minute automobiles, and powering those cars, Rio Grande cracked, the quicker starting gasoline of maximum power, speed, and endurance that always gets its man. That makes it easy to understand why Rio Grande Cracked powers more police cars, fire engines, ambulances, and other automotive equipment wherever it is sold than any other brand. And that is why officials of the state of California and the government of the United States rely upon this superior gasoline to provide swift, sure, and more economical power for their public-serving automotive equipment. Many thousands of motorists are equally discriminating. One tankful will convince you, too, that for all-around police car performance, the gasoline of today and tomorrow is Rio Grande Cracked, the motor fuel that is first in public service. And now, Sheriff Durley.
While Wallace and Selby were en route to Kansas, a body was found in a San Bernardino canyon, and through the efforts of Sheriff Shea Identification Bureau and Sheriff Shea himself and the untiring work of Deputy Wallace, this body was definitely identified as Ray Oswald. On March 29th, Floyd Crane's mild-mannered Kansas farm boy pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to prison.
Thank you, Sheriff Durley.
Ventura Sheriff's Office calling all cars, attention all cars, a cancellation broadcast 235 regarding a murder. Suspect in this case is now in custody. That's all. Rosenquist.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you.
Calling All Cars, a copyrighted program transcribed and dedicated to the prevention of crime.
Calling all cars, attention all cars, broadcast 236. Cooperate with Narcotics Squad in making arrests. That is all. Gordon.
Occasionally, a case breaks on which it is necessary for an officer to work without the knowledge of the members of his own department. He even has to leave the matter of making arrests to other persons in order that he may be left free to work out more intricate details of the case. This is a story of how operatives of the narcotics squad, working completely in the dark, uncovered the source of supply of dope that had been eluding police for months. The control of the drug traffic is one of the most dangerous of law enforcement jobs. However, we shall not try to paint heroes, but shall simply tell a true story from authenticated police records. The case of the Greasy Trail. In one of the residential sections of the city, two members of the police narcotics squad stand watching a house. Impatiently, they wait for a woman to leave the doorway across the street.
What's going on in there, Eddie? She's been gone over an hour.
Be patient, Pat. Patience is a virtue.
I wish you'd explain that to my corns. But if what you say about that guy is on the level, we ought to be in.
Quit worrying. Madge will take care of herself.
I know that. But suppose he tries
He
to...
won't. He's not a fool.
I was only thinking...
Ah,
but...
there she comes. You can stop thinking now.
She seems to be all right.
Of course she's all right. Come on, let's go. She'll drive around the block and pick us up on Las Palmas Street, if the coast is clear.
All right. Say, Eddie, I've been thinking.
What, again?
No, it's the same thing. But I didn't get a chance to finish it. Suppose this doctor so-and-so does what you expect him to do. What does that make us, or him?
It makes us conscious we're on the right trail. And it eventually may make him occupy a little stone room with only one window instead of that palatial house. All right, here we are. Here's Las Palmas. We'll turn this corner.
There's nobody in sight.
Not as far as we can see at any rate, and we'll hope for the best. You know, the boys connected with this business have very nervous fingers. They shoot first and talk afterwards.
Well, maybe we better just skip it. I'm enjoying a pretty good constitution, and I'd like to go on enjoying it a little while longer.
Here comes Madge.
We'll talk the matter over. I still have a very fine regard for my constitution. I think sort of well of it, I do.
Taxi, Captain?
Oh, yes. Don't mind if I do. May I bring my friend?
By all means. 3 can ride as cheaply as 2.
Well, no. This is an honor I never expected.
And get in and express your appreciation by a big chunk of silence. And close the door. Well, how's the neurosis?
Oh, it's just dandy. But that isn't the half of it. If I could remember all the big medical words, you'd be surprised to discover the sort of person I am.
Spots before the eyes, I suppose, and a ringing noise in the head, huh?
Well, I had an uncle in Ireland that used to see spots in front of his eyes, and I remember my mother telling me...
Never mind the symptoms, Pat. Go ahead, Madge. What did he recommend?
Well, he gave me a prescription and a few pills. And he brought me a glass of water and told me to take one of the pills there.
You didn't, did you?
No, boy. I switched it in a hurry. Oh, here's the prescription.
What is it?
Oh, something to calm my, or rather, Miss Blackwell's neurosis if she can't sleep at night.
This prescription would calm most anything. Well, Dr. Bruce, you finally made a mistake.
And so, gentlemen, a condition exists in this city that should not be tolerated under any civilization. A nauseous serpent of inconceivable destruction has wormed its way into our homes, our high schools, our universities. And, gentlemen, with your help, I am going to stamp it out. My duty to the community demands that I exercise constant vigilance in the control of the world's most ferocious evil. And that evil, my friends, is the traffic in dope. Poison. We've handled it with kid gloves. We've been afraid to face it because it isn't nice. Because we don't like to think it's real. But it is, and you can depend upon me as president of this league to do my duty. Yes, and more than my duty, to smash these vicious criminals who contribute to the cause of human demoralization. I thank you.
Well, Britton, that was a great speech. You're a man after my own heart.
Thank you, Captain Chitwood. I feel the time has come when everyone must take up arms against such villainy.
You're absolutely right. And speaking from my official capacity, I want you to know you can depend upon every cooperation from the police department.
Thank you.
Tommy, lock the door.
Okay, Squint.
Afraid somebody's coming in, Squint?
Not especially. I just want to be sure the wrong guy don't get out.
What's your idea of a wrong guy?
Well, anybody that might like to do a little business with the cops, for example.
Oh, I see. Somebody been double-crossing you, Squint?
Yeah. Somebody's been trying to double-cross me.
Who was it? Do you know?
I don't know who is, but the guy looks an awful lot like you.
Like me? That's bad, ain't it?
Yeah, it's too bad. Well, are you ready?
Ready? Sure.
Okay. Somebody tipped the cops we was going to move some stuff tonight. They got the tip yesterday at 2 o'clock, and at that time there was only 3 guys that knew about it. Buddy, myself, and you.
And you think that I'm the guy?
I don't have to think. I got the tip right back again. Buddy hadn't been out of my sight, and the guy that tipped me to the tip-off described you. Now what do you think?
Well, I think there's only one thing to do with it.
Yeah, and that's how we handle coppers. The faster they tip, the faster they get tipped.
All right, now pay attention, you two.
Okay.
A single misstep is liable to be very hard on you. Dr. Bruce must have some way of turning his patients over to a regular dope peddler when he thinks they're ready. And that's the first step.
Say, Eddie, what I can't understand is how do you know all this about that doctor guy? Maybe he's on the level.
All rats. Madge is as perfect a specimen of physical health as anyone has ever seen.
See here, Captain, I object to being called a specimen.
All right, an example.
An example is better.
Why, a first-year medical student would have pronounced you perfect. Besides that, only a short time ago, a prominent man in the city brought charges against Bruce, claiming the doctor had given his wife dope.
What did they do about it?
Dr. Bruce swore it was a frame-up, that he only prescribed what he considered necessary. And then the case was suddenly and mysteriously dropped.
Then you think you'll find some way of sending me to an ordinary dope peddler after a while. And that'll be our man, eh?
Oh, no. That'll be the man we'll leave strictly alone until he leads us to the top of the ladder, to the brains behind this dope ring, who, for all we know, may be none other than Dr. Bruce himself.
Well, the more I think of this, Eddie, the more I think it would be a good idea to just skip it.
Yeah, that's just the trouble. Too many people are doing that already. Now, Madge, I don't suppose he has the faintest suspicion you're not Beth Blackwell?
No, I'm sure he hasn't. He's questioned me about my family, that is, Beth's family, but I know more about her relatives than she does, so he's quite satisfied.
That's good. Of course, it would be fatal to our plans if he discovered who you really are.
I don't suppose it would do little Madge any good.
No, miss. It might be hard on the Constitution.
You're coming along splendidly, Miss Blackwell. I see a definite capillary reaction. A few more weeks, and I think we can consider you well on the road to recovery.
Thank you, Dr. Bruce. I can't tell you how grateful I am.
I'll give you another prescription. Take it the same as before.
Oh, I was hoping you would. That medicine has meant so much to me. All kinds of news, Eddie. I've discovered where and how to get the dope.
Good. Where?
At a nightclub called the 810.
How'd you find out?
2 patients in Bruce's office were talking. They spoke in whispers, but loud enough for me to hear.
Mm-hmm. Men or women?
Women. They get it from a perfume vendor in the ladies' dressing room.
Fine. Looks like our next stop is the 810 nightclub. Come on, it's out at 10,500 Escamanda.
Your change, sir.
Oh, thank you. There you are.
Thank you.
Enjoy the dinner?
Yes, but let's get out of here.
Where did we park? You remember, Madge?
Yes, right around the corner.
Oh, that's right, we did. Well?
Well, Captain, here's the stuff. Do you want it now, or will you wait until you get home?
Keep it for a souvenir. Hold it until we get in the car.
Whoever thought up that appliance used a certain amount of misguided intelligence. It's just what the doctor ordered without the formality of a doctor's prescription.
How's it operate?
Well, the perfume dispenser is on the wall, which I would say is between the dressing room and the kitchen. A sign is pasted on it which reads out of order.
An ironical comparison there.
Yes, but all you have to do is drop a $5 bill down a little slot on top of the machine, then put a dime in the regular coin slot, and lo and behold, the out-of-order machine works.
And I imagine they can see you, but of course you can't see who's operating the machine.
That's it exactly.
Here's the car. May I have the pleasure of driving you home, Miss Weber?
You may have the pleasure of driving me, but if there's going to be any excitement, you're certainly not going to drive me home.
There'll be no more excitement tonight. I don't think it'd do us any good to go back there and locate the passage to the wall behind that machine.
We wouldn't find anybody and would only get ourselves shot if they saw us.
Of course, the real truth of the matter is that the heroin is not in the machine. The man who gets the 5 pushes out the dope after you put the dime in and turn the handle.
And what's the dime for?
I don't know. Overhead, probably.
Smart idea, but unfortunately, crooks have no monopoly on ideas. In about 24 hours, the dope seller will be uncovered to us as completely as though he wore a sign which read, "I'm the man who sells the dope." And from then on, we should get some action.
And the lad says to me, Uncle, will you have another pick-me-up? And me uncle says, thank you, I don't care if I do. And the lad said to me, Uncle again...
Pat, did that go on and on and on?
No, there was only 6 pick-me-ups.
Wait a minute, hold a minute. There comes another car.
Let me look through them glasses for a while.
Would you know what you were looking for if you did?
Sure. I'd be looking for the lad that sells the dope at that joint across the street.
Would you know him if you saw him?
No.
Better let me keep the glasses in.
Okay. So me uncle was feeling a little dizzy by this time, and he went out and got into his buggy and started to drive home.
Wait a minute. There's a V8 parking across the street, and it looks to me like... Yeah, Pat, we've got him. It's our friend, the dope seller.
How in blazes can you tell?
Never mind. That's our man, all right. Come on. Have you got that can of oil?
Sure, I got it.
Okay, here we go.
Well, how about me poor uncle?
Tell me on the way what happened to him.
Well, the constable says to him, what's your name? And me uncle says, well, says me uncle, if me name's Michael Gilhooly, I've lost a darn good horse. And if it ain't, I found a pretty buggy.
Yeah, this is the car, Pat. You get a good break, too. Another car is parked right behind it. That'll give me a chance to work.
Make it snappy, Eddie. Suppose that lad forgot something and comes out again.
It'll take me a second. You stand right here and warn me if you see anyone coming. I'm going to tie this can of oil in here, put a cork in the hole in the can, tie a string to the cork, and there we are.
Right. Go ahead. There's a pretty spot in Ireland. Oh, that's too high. There's a pretty spot in... Oh, hurry up, Eddie, before they run out of spots. There's a pretty spot...
Here we are. That's done. Now, there's nothing to do but go back across the street and wait until Mr. Dope Seller goes home.
Holy mackerel, Eddie. Why do we have to follow that car on foot?
Well, it's much safer, Pat. Suppose we followed in our car and suddenly we came upon the car we were following. Might make him suspicious, and that's the last thing in the world we want to do.
He turned this corner, sir. There goes the trail of oil.
See, you talk about leaving a trail. Boy, that's what I call fun. I only hope he gets where he's going before that oil gives out.
No, that's tough stuff. The way you tied that can in between the frame, it shouldn't give out until long after my feet do. Oh, for the love of Mike Chitwood. This guy must live in China. You've got some good ideas, you have, but my feet don't think so.
Yeah, cheer up, Pat. This looks to me like a great neighborhood for a dope smuggler's hangout.
It sure looks like something. Ramshackle buildings, dark alleys, deserted factories.
Hey, wait a minute. The oil's getting very faint. Uh-huh. What is it? He turned in this driveway. Don't look. Keep going straight ahead.
Nothing but a driveway between 2 empty buildings.
My guess is that somewhere in those empty buildings we'll find some pretty fair living quarters. And probably a fortune in dope.
Are we going in now?
No. Too near daylight. Anyhow, we need some of the boys for this job.
And a couple of machine guns, if you was to ask me.
Nothing of the kind. We're looking for some more important men than we'll find in there. So we'll use brains instead of bullets. Tomorrow night, we'll come back and put a dictaphone in that empty building. Or get shot.
Well, personally, I'm in favor of the dictaphone. A hot foot bath and a box of corn plasters.
Good evening, Miss Blackwell.
Oh, good evening. Is Dr. Bruce here?
No, not right now. But he said to tell you he wanted to see you.
He wanted to see me?
Yes. And if you came while he was out, to ask you to wait. Just have a chair.
Thank you.
A magazine?
No, thanks. I'll just wait.
Would you excuse me? I have to sterilize some instruments.
Of course. Oh, the doctor is anxious to see me, eh? Oh, Dr. Bruce.
Miss Blackwell, how do you do? Not leaving, were you?
Oh, just for a few minutes. The nurse wasn't sure how soon you'd be back.
It seems I've arrived just in time. Be seated a minute. I'll be right with you. I have to make a phone call.
Of course, Doctor.
I'll be only a moment.
Meantime, Chitwood and his assistant are listening on a dictaphone planted in the empty building.
227 Sherman. Did you get that, Pat?
Yes, sir. I got it down here, sir.
Now, listen. Is them cellophane capsules ready?
Yeah.
Well, from now on, the boys keep a smaller supply on hand, see? And when you deliver the capsules, explain how to use them. They'll fit in the partitions of a regular ice tray. They're waterproof, so all they do is pour water on top of them and freeze them.
Swell gag, Squint. Did you think of that yourself?
Of course. Hello. Yeah? Go ahead, Dr. Bruce.
Bruce.
Oh, she is, huh? In your office? Is that the dame that told you she was Beth Blackwell?
That's Madge he's talking about.
Swell. I'll be right over. Don't let her get away.
Holy mackerel, she's in that doctor's office.
No talk, Pat. Action. Gather up those notes and let's go. We've got to get to the doctor's place ahead of that mob. Come on. And if the doc heard that, he'll think it's Squint. Come on. I'll ring the bell. If they don't answer in about 2 seconds, we'll kick down the door.
I hope everything's all right.
Yeah, of course everything's all right. They're expecting Squint, aren't they? Quick, someone's coming.
Good evening.
Nice work, Pat. Don't let go of her for a minute.
I won't, you know.
Get him up, Dr. Bruce. Hurry up.
What's
Shut up, not a word out of you. Get out of here, you.
Oh, please don't.
Get out of here, I said, and hurry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Bruce. Into that next room.
Now, what's the
No
meaning
talk,
of...
I said move.
Oh, all right.
Looking straight ahead. Put your hands behind you. That's it. You'll pardon the handcuffs, Doctor. Just to make sure you stay put. If you want to move, you'll have to drag this cabinet with you. And if you make a sound, I'll come back here and shoot you. Police department?
The nurse is tied up, Captain. Pat's parking her upstairs. How are you doing?
Swell if I can never get the police department on this phone.
Maybe they don't stay up this late at night.
Wait a minute. Hello. Police department. Oh, this is Dr. Bruce's residence. Lately, I've been annoyed by a gangster named Squint. Yes. He's been trying to get money from me. That's right. Well, he just phoned me he was on his way up here. Yes. Will you send me some protection? Please, in a hurry. I'm afraid he's going to kill me.
Nice work, Captain. But why didn't you tell them who you were?
I'm supposed to be out of town. Somebody might be listening anyway. All right, we'll take the back way out to avoid any chance of running into Squint or the police. Come on, let's get out of here.
Bruce, where are you? Hey, Bruce, what's it all about? Oh, there you are.
Yes, here I am.
Now, where's the dame you was telling me about?
She's gone.
Gone? What do you mean?
Squint, you've got to believe me. She was sitting here with me when a man entered wearing a mask. I couldn't see his face. He forced me into my laboratory here, handcuffed me to the cabinet.
So you ain't been sniffing that stuff yourself, have you?
It's the truth. Just before you came in, both of them ran out.
Wait a minute, Bruce. You're drunk or something. I might go for the first part of your story, but that running out stuff, I don't believe that.
Get him up, Trent.
Huh?
I got you covered plenty.
Oh, yeah, a lot of good it'll do you.
Are you Dr. Bruce?
Yes, why?
You the man that phoned police headquarters that a gangster named Squint was bothering you? Well, he won't bother you anymore for a while.
You dirty double-crossing rat. So that's how it is it?
Pipe down, Squint.
You don't mean nothing to me, copper. I'll be out in a half hour. But you, Dr. Bruce...
Come on. Save your breath. You'll need it.
You know, Madge, Eddie just about gave me heart failure by not telling me that he knew you was going to that Bruce guy's house.
That's just an oversight, I assure you.
You were 8 seconds late, Eddie. You told me if you weren't there in 13 minutes, I was to go. And you arrived in 13 minutes and 8 seconds.
You took an awful chance, Eddie. Supposing that doctor had called some other gang.
Well, in that case, poor Dr. Bruce would have been compelled to let me out, or I would have obeyed Eddie's order and shot one of his ears off.
Oh, which ear? The one in the middle. Well, about now, if our plan worked out all right, Dr. Bruce and Squint are on their way to jail.
What's on the program now, Eddie?
We're going back to their headquarters where I have a little job to do. Then you've got to get on the DA's trail and stick right to him until we find out who gets Squint out. The man that does that will be worth our time and attention.
It will probably be some crooked lawyer who'll never let anybody know the man behind it.
In that case, I have another plan. The general roundup will come sometime tomorrow.
Then the next stop is the warehouse.
That's right. The next stop is the warehouse. Turn on the dictaphone pad. See if there's any sign of life in there.
Okay.
I never heard one of those things operate.
Listen a minute. No, nobody home, I guess. Well, might as well be now as any time. The gang that went with Squint is liable to be back any minute. Pat, you cover the front of the building. Madge, watch the rear.
Yeah.
I'm going in and see if Squint left his payoff money there. That's going to be the trap, the money.
Do you think it's safe to go alone, Eddie?
Much safer than leaving part of this building uncovered.
Well, let's go and get it over with.
This way. Come on.
Did you make it?
Yeah, come on, Pat.
I'm coming.
The trap is set. If the mouse tries to take a bite of it, he'll wake up with an awful pain in the neck.
Chitwood, I've called to congratulate you and congratulate the police department upon the successful roundup of that gang of dope peddlers.
Well, thank you, Mr. Britton. That speech you made at the banquet certainly was an inspiration to me.
I'm very happy. The other members of the League join me in extending our best wishes. Have you sufficient evidence to successfully prosecute these men?
Yes. Plenty of evidence, Mr. Britton.
That's very good indeed. I've heard it said it was very difficult to prove anything against that type of criminal.
It has been at times. Principally because some person of position has been accepting money from them for protection.
That is what I would call positively outrageous. How did you find out so much about them, Chitwood? How were you able to make such a complete roundup?
It started when we discovered dope was being sold at the 810 nightclub. Although no one saw the man who sold it, one of my detectives made a payment with a $5 bill, which had been treated with a violent irritant.
Violent irritant?
Yes, a bacteria, in other words. The dope seller showed up the following night with a bandaged hand. By following him, my agent learned a sum of money was to be paid to the man who was giving them protection.
Beautiful work, Chitwood.
My agent then put a package of the chemically treated money in place of the money Squint had prepared for the payment.
Yes?
By now, the man who received that money has a slight irritation on his hands. Within 24 hours, it will be absorbed by the bloodstream. In 7 days, unless he can discover the proper method of counteracting it, it will mean death.
Death?
Yes, Mr. Britton. Death.
Death. In 7 days?
In 7 days. Oh, I see you're scratching your hands now, Mr. Britton. If your hands itch now, think what it'll be when the poison goes through your entire system.
You're kidding.
Oh, you think so? Take a look at your hands, Britton.
You can't get away with this. It's murder.
What was that Squint pulled on one of our men?
I didn't have anything to do with that killing.
That's your story. But we think we can prove you did. Anyway, that's the charge. Let's see you spring yourself out of that.
In just a moment, you will hear the conclusion of our drama. Britton was deceived by Chitwood's bluff. The fear of death unnerved him. It was impossible to prove Britton's connection with the murder of the undercover operator, but he was tried and sentenced for his part in the dope-selling racket, as were the doctor and the other men involved. All are now learning to their sorrow that crime does not pay. Calling all cars, attention all cars. Cancellation on broadcast 236. Suspects now in custody. That is all. Gordon.
Calling all cars, the copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Long Beach Police calling all cars. Attention all cars. Broadcast 237 at 120 East 1st Street. Assistant officer. That's all. Rosencliff.
Friends, the man who appraises your car for a trade-in not only looks at your car, he listens as well. And believe me, at a moment like that, you thank your lucky stars you've been protecting its inner workings, prolonging its life with Realube, the lubricant that keeps a new motor young and a veteran vehicle from growing old before its time. I tell you, friends, Realube not only safeguards the family car from unnecessary wear and tear, but brings it to the judgment day of a trade-in cleared of conscience and unashamed. Thanks to this great lubricant, your motor never gives in to the degrading influences of intense heat generated by your fastest driving in the hottest weather. Realube places a protective arm about every vital point, and the demons of heat haven't a chance. If your car has been associating with ragtag and bobtail lubricants that threaten to take it for the wrong kind of a ride, give it a new environment. Give it a clean bill of health with Realube, the newest and finest motor oil sold in the West. The story we're to hear tonight was taken from the confidential files of the Long Beach Police Department. And it is our privilege to present Captain Walter Lentz, Chief of the Long Beach Detective Bureau. Captain Lentz.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have long agreed with the thesis set forth by this program, the theory that crime does not pay. The criminal is a serious danger because the rest of us do not take him seriously. If we realize that crime comes home to every man of us, and not merely to the victim alone, we would take crime more seriously. Our defense against crime is too casual. More and more, the law enforcement agencies of our country are realizing this fact and are cooperating to bring about a tighter enforcement of our laws. Programs of the sort we are to hear tonight make more vivid the work of the police in apprehending and punishing criminals who defy the law. Such cooperation is invaluable. Our program shall show how it worked to prove again that crime is a losing proposition.
A hot noonday sun beat down on patrolman William McLean as he stood watching a swarthy-faced man sitting idly inside a shop on Ocean Boulevard in Long Beach. The milling crowd of shoppers went unheeded, and traffic snarled on the corner, but Officer McLean kept the man in sight.
Hello, Bill. What are you doing over here? Thought you were on traffic these days.
I am, Calvin. I'm watching a fellow in that shoe shine parlor. I'm going to pick him up when he comes out.
Where is he?
You see that dark-complexioned fellow sitting on that chair just by the door?
Yeah. Tough-looking customer, isn't he?
Pretty mean-looking, all right.
What's he done?
Passed a forged check.
Is that all?
That's enough for me to pick him up.
Well, why don't you go in and get him?
I've got to keep my eye on the traffic out here. He'll be coming out in a minute.
Sooner than that. Here he comes now.
Well, I might as well take him in.
See you later, Bill.
Just a minute, buddy.
I'd like to talk to you.
Yeah? What's the beef, copper?
We'll talk about that at the station. You want to come along quietly, or shall I use the bracelet?
Sure, I'll go with you. I ain't done nothing. Keep the cuffs in your pocket.
All right, let's go.
What's the idea of parking there?
Come back here! Hey, stop that man! Stop! Get that man! Stop him! Hey, you. You see a man come through this alley?
Yes, sir. He went into that hotel right there.
Thanks. Oh, I'll be the laughing stock of the force if I let that guy get away with this. Say, lady, did you see a dark guy come in here a second ago?
Oh, yes.
Where is he?
Well, back there, room 18. You better be careful, though.
I will.
He looked pretty desperate when he came in.
Open up in there. Come on, I said open up.
Oh, Here I am. Here, down here. Hurry, come on, Andrew.
What's coming up in
Oh,
here?
please, hurry. He's dying. I know he is.
Let me get down there, lady. Here, Wishon. Give me a hand here.
Okay, Dilch. Easy now. There we are.
Oh, he shot him. They didn't give him any chance at all.
Dilch, look. It's McLean.
You're right. Bill. Bill.
No, it's no use, Ed.
Poor guy. Bill was a swell
Oh,
fellow.
the man ran in here, and when the officer made him open the door, he shot him. The officer never had any chance at all.
Who did this?
Sam Gadanio, the man who lived in number 18.
Maybe you'd better tell us all about it.
Well, I was sweeping the hall here when I heard someone come running up the stairs. I went to the top to see who it was, and this fellow rushed up and shoved me to one side and went on back to his room.
Do you know this man?
Well, I rented a room to him yesterday, and I know the name he signed on the register, but that's all I know about him.
Did he say anything when he came upstairs?
He told me to get out of his way, and he shoved me aside and kept on running.
What happened then?
Well, just a second or two later, the officer, Mr. McLean, came running up the steps and asked me if a man came in here, and I told him where the fellow was.
Did the officer have his gun in his hand?
Well, I think so.
Did this other fellow have a gun?
Well, not when he came in, but evidently he had one in his room, because when the officer went back and told him to open the door, that fellow just stuck his hand out and shot Mr. McLean.
Where'd he go then?
Well, he started down the back stair, but the officer had fallen down there, so he came out this way. I saw him coming, and I ran into the bathroom, but I was afraid he'd come in there, so I ran down the hall toward the officer. And this fellow had a gun in his hand, a little shot sort of gun, and he ran out the front door. I ran back here to see if the officer was hurt, and, well, about that time, you men came.
You say this man came here yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Have any baggage?
Well, he had a suitcase, but it's not in his room now.
What'd you say his name is?
Sam Gadanio is the way he signed the register.
Well, how did he act when he came in yesterday?
Well, he seemed a little irritable. He told me he didn't have much money, wanted to pay only 50 cents on the room, and he'd have some more money today. He said he was from Salt Lake City, and he was a prize fighter.
What kind of a looking fellow was he?
Well, he looked like some foreigner to me, but his face gave me the creeps. You know, I'll never forget that face as long as I live. It was dark with heavy creases all along his mouth, and he had awfully dark eyes, sort of piercing eyes.
How was he dressed?
Well, he had on dark pants, I believe. Yes, I'm sure of it. And he wore a dark turtleneck sweater, you know, the kind you have to pull on over your head. And he wore a coat of same material as the pants.
Any hat?
No, I never saw him with any hat on. He had a lot of hair, real black and sort of curly.
All right, lady, thanks. We'd like to take that register of yours along to headquarters and have a photostatic copy of that handwriting made.
Well, that's all right, but I want it back, though.
You'll get it back. We just want a picture of it. I have an idea we're going to need that handwriting.
Police headquarters bustled with activity. Crowds choked the hallway seeking information about the slayer of the popular police officer. In a nearby room, the voice of the police announcer droned in endless description of the killer. Officers hurried from department to department, compiling all available information regarding the suspected murderer. Throughout the city, police swung into action. Police cars darted from their positions at the curb, speeding to effect a blockade of all avenues of escape from the city. Plainclothes men were rushed to bus and railway stations to watch every person leaving Long Beach. Radio stations cut short their broadcasts to tell the anxious listeners the latest developments in the manhunt and to warn citizens to be on the lookout for the killer. Thus, Long Beach sought the murderer of William McLean. In his office, Chief of Police Joe McClellan talked to two of his officers.
Duffy, you're in charge of traffic?
Yes, sir.
McLean was on traffic, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
Well, who was this fellow he was bringing in, and what did he want him for?
We haven't the slightest idea, Chief. McLean was handling traffic and nothing else. Who the fellow was or why Mac picked him up is a mystery to me.
How about you, Murphy? What do you know about this?
Absolutely nothing, Chief. I haven't the slightest idea who the man was or why Mac was after him. It might be that somebody tipped Mac off that this man was wanted.
Have you checked your bulletins for him?
We haven't anybody in the mug books or on the wanted circulars that answer his description.
And that's all we know about the case, eh?
That's about the sum of it.
Well, we've got to find out more about this, and we're going to do it. Murphy, that's your job.
Yeah?
Find out who that bird is who shot McLean and why he shot him, and bring the rat in.
Okay. Send Lentz and Fridley in here.
Yes, sir.
You want us, Captain?
Yes, sit down. We're going to do something about the bird who killed McLean.
Any idea who he is?
Not the slightest. I want you to take Fridley here and go over that place where Mac was shot. See what you can find out. Talk to everybody on Ocean Boulevard and 1st Street if you have to, but find something we can work on.
Okay.
Yes? Okay, send him in.
Something up?
I can't tell. The front desk said somebody's coming in here who knows something about the case. Come in.
Captain Murphy?
I'm Murphy.
My name is Calvin.
Won't you sit down?
Thanks.
What can we do for you? Oh, pardon me. This is Lieutenant Lentz and Sergeant Fridley.
How do you do, Sergeant? I thought maybe I could help you a little on this shooting case.
Fine. Let's have it.
Well, I was talking to Mac just before you arrested this fellow this morning, and I got a good look at the man.
Did McLean say anything about why he was picking this fellow up?
Yes, he said something about him being a forger.
Tell you where these checks have been cashed?
No, he didn't.
Where was this man when you first saw him?
In the shoe shining stand on Ocean Boulevard.
Do you think you'd recognize him if you saw him again?
And how? He was one of the toughest-looking guys I ever saw.
Well, what happened when McLean picked this bird up?
Well, we stood there talking a little while. And when we saw this fellow start to leave, I stepped back into a store there, and McLean went out and stopped him.
Yeah?
I couldn't hear what he said to him, but they started walking down the street toward Pine.
Yeah?
All of a sudden, some fellow bumped his car into another one that was double parked there by the corner, and the guy McLean had hold of broke away and ran up the alley with Mac right behind him.
Did McLean shoot at him?
No. He fired in the air a couple of times, but the fellow kept on going up the alley. When he got to the corner, that is, out on 1st Street,
yeah,
I saw him turn the corner to the right, and that's the last I saw him.
You didn't see McLean shoot at the man, did you?
No, there was a couple of girls coming down the alley about that time, and a guy was parking a car on the lot that opens on the alley. They were all in the way.
McLean wouldn't be shooting like that in the center of town anyway.
Well, that's all I know about the case.
Yeah, okay.
I sure hope you'll catch that bird. He's plenty tough.
Apparently. Well, Lentz, you and Fridley hop out and see what you can find out around Pine and Ocean.
"20 minutes later, the officers returned. With them were two frightened men.
Well, Captain Murphy,
Yeah.
here are a couple of fellows who can be of a little assistance to us.
Yes? Who are they?
They're the boys who run the shine stand on Ocean, where our killer started out from.
What do you boys know about this?
We don't know a thing. Honest, Captain, we don't know a thing about
All
this.
right, now sit down, boys. Take it easy. We're not after you for anything. Suppose you tell us what this is all about.
Honest, we don't got nothing to do with this thing. We tell you the truth.
Yeah, now look here, boys. We're not blaming you fellows for anything. Nobody's going to hurt you. Unless you've had a hand in this killing. If you have, it's going to be plenty tough on you.
Oh, no. We got nothing to do with this.
Wait a minute now. One at a time.
Yes. Now, suppose you tell us what this is all about.
Wait a minute. Where's Fridley?
Oh, over at the hotel getting what he can out of that room.
Okay, you two. Start telling us.
You tell him, Steve. No, you tell him.
Oh, cut out the Alphons and gas and stuff and get started.
Well, it was like this. Last of July, Mr. Strost, he come
Mr.
to me and he say...
Who's Mr. Trust?
Oh, he's the druggist on the corner.
Yeah, I know him. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Trost, he come to my stand and he say... Billy say... You remember that fellow?
Remember that fellow you told he was okay, the one that wanted to cash that check?
You mean the chunky guy with the black curly hair?
That's the one.
Hey, wait a minute, Mr. Trost. I didn't tell you this guy was all right. I tell you he come in my shop 1 or 2 times. I told you see him around the street all the time, but I didn't tell you he was all right.
All right. Just the same, the check I cashed for him wasn't any good.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right. When he comes in here again, you call me or a cop.
Which one you wanted me to do, call you or a cop?
Now, that makes no difference to me. He forged somebody's name to that check, and I want him arrested. If you can't find me, call Bill McLean. He'll take him over to the station. I'll sign a complaint against him when they get him over there.
Okay, I'll call you. I say I'll call you. Then one day I see this fellow. He came into my shine stand.
No, our shine stand.
Sure, our shine stand. And he say to me, he say,
Hi, Shorty.
How's tricks? What do you mean, tricks? I don't play no tricks.
Oh, you know what I mean.
Hello.
Hi, fella. Saw you over the place I lived, didn't I?
Sure, I live there too.
Yeah, well, I'll move.
Oh, that suits me fine.
All joking aside, though, Where's a good place to stay around here?
Oh, there's a hotel right on the corner, right up the alley on First Street.
Swell, I'll try it.
Have you been going someplace?
Yeah, I've been up in Frisco a while.
What you do, eh?
Fight a little, wrestle some.
Uh-huh.
Just about anything.
You want to shine?
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, you shine the gentleman's shoes. I'll go and get a cup of coffee.
Coffee? Hey, what the heck?
Hey, you shine the shoes. I get to get a cup of coffee at the drugstore.
Oh, okay, I shall.
I'll be right back. So I run to the drugstore and I tell Mr. Trost that fellow is in my shop.
Our shop?
Sure, our shop. I say the fellow who cashed the check, he came back.
What did Trust do?
He say, see if you can find an officer.
Did you find one?
No. Officer McLean went to lunch, and nobody was in his place.
What happened then?
When I got to the stand, the fellow was just leaving. He said he'd come back in a day or two, so we just let him go.
Is that right, Steve?
Sure. We tell the truth now.
When did you see this fellow next?
He came back again the next day about the same time. This time he was dressed up different, though.
Yeah, how's that?
He had a black sweater, like a prize fighter. You know, a pull-down sweater.
You mean pull over?
Sure. That's what he mean. He don't speak good English so good.
What do you mean I don't speak a good English? I do all the talking. What do you do?
Oh, cut out the squabbling. Now, how is this bird dressed?
He had a sweater, some darker pants and a coat.
No shirt.
No hat.
No shine.
What happened then?
I say to Steve, Steve, you shine at the gentleman's shoes. I go next door for a cup of coffee.
All time I shine shoes, he go for coffee.
What did you do then?
I run next door to see Officer McLean eating his lunch.
Yeah.
I go in and I tell her that fellow is in my stand now.
Did McLean come out with you?
No, he say, go back and act like if nothing happened. And I'll come in and get him.
What did you say to that?
I say, no, you no taking me in my shop. You wait until he comes out. I don't want any trouble in my shop.
Our shop.
All right.
Listen, you say that again, Steve, and I'm going to throw something at you.
Okay.
Go on, Bill.
Well, when Steve got through shining this guy's shoes, he got up and he started out of the shop.
Yeah.
I saw Mr. McLean standing down the street watching him. This fellow walked along looking in the window, and then Officer McLean walked up to him and he said something.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't hear what he was, but pretty soon I see this fellow start to run.
Which way?
He ran up the alley. Officer McLean right behind him. He yelled, stop! 1, 2, 3 times, and then he shoot.
At the man?
I don't know. I stay in the shop.
Did you see anything else?
No, that's all.
Oh, hello, Fredley. What'd you find?
Well, our killer used a .32 automatic.
Mhm.
Shot at least 3 times, missed once. Didn't leave anything to go by. That is not much.
Not much.
Here are the empty shells I picked up in the hall. Here are the pieces of the banister and wall paneling where the bullets lodged. Cut them out with a chisel.
Nice work. Did you get any prints?
Not many. Got some pretty good ones off the bedpost. Brought back an empty whiskey bottle and might turn up a few. Chances are pretty slim that we've got anything on these prints.
According to Bill here, our boy friend came from the north. He's been here before, however.
Maybe San Francisco. Some of the boys up around there have something on this fellow.
Yeah, very likely. But we haven't the slightest idea who he is or where to look for him.
Just before I went out, I got a notation the desk sergeant had made about a call from a cleaning shop on East First.
Yeah?
You think Walter here and I ought to take a look at it?
Oh, you might as well. It may be a lead.
We'll take a run over there and see what it's all about. Did somebody from here telephone the police department?
Yes, I did.
What's the trouble?
That man showed up here again.
What man?
The one I phoned about.
What about him?
Well, he came in here yesterday and brought some shirts and wanted me to get them out the same day. I told him I couldn't do it, and he got kind of rough. Well, he came back just after lunch and said that he wanted to change his clothes. He had a suitcase with him, and I told him I couldn't let him do that. And he told me he'd blow my head off if I didn't let him.
You have a gun?
I don't know, but I wasn't going to take any chances. I told him to go on back there and change his duds.
Did he change?
Yes, and he left his old clothes here. Here they are. There's a black sweater and a coat.
Oh, wait a minute. Take a look at those, Fredley.
That's what I'm doing.
Was this fellow a sort of short, very dark man with black curly hair?
Yes, why?
Well, nothing. He just shot a policeman about 3 hours ago.
Here's a cleaning mark. C over 1934.
I'm going to take that coat and make the rounds of every cleaning place in this town. Ever see this coat before?
I don't think so.
Know a fellow named Sam Gordanio?
Never heard of him.
You ever see this coat before?
No.
No Sam Gordanio?
No.
You ever see this coat before?
No.
Ever hear of Sam Gordanio?
No.
you ever see this coat before?
I don't think so.
No Sam Gordanio, short, dark fellow, curly black hair?
Oh, him. I think I know who you mean.
Yeah?
A fellow like that was in here last night. Said he was from Salt Lake City. I sold him a second-hand suitcase I had lying around here. He said he was a boxer.
Far into the night, Lentz checked shop after shop, always meeting with the same answer. At last, he decided his task was hopeless, for only a few shops remained unchecked. Discouraged, he began his usual round of questions.
You ever see this coat before?
Yeah.
You have?
Sure, I've seen it. I pressed it about 2 days ago.
Do you know Sam Gordanio?
Yeah. He was here earlier today. Asked me to keep the suitcase for him. I got it right here under the counter.
Well, let me see it.
Okay. Here you are.
Well, boy. Say, this is a break at last. What did this Gordanio look like?
Oh, sort of short, heavy-set fella. Very dark. Might be Greek or Armenian.
Yeah?
Had deep lines in his face, especially on the right side. Had black, curly hair.
That's the bird.
Huh. Don't look like he left much in that suitcase.
No, just a shirt, a hat, and an empty whiskey bottle, which will probably break his neck.
Lentz and Fridley had gathered all the information they could in Long Beach. Captain Murphy now turned the case over to Sergeants Wood and Guthrow for further investigation. Reasoning that a criminal skilled in the art of forgery would not readily drop his practice, Wood and Guthrow determined to follow the trail of worthless checks that Gordanio was certain to leave behind. In the next few weeks, they were to learn that the trail stretched from one end of the state to another. A well-marked line of checks stretched from Long Beach to Fresno. Here, then, was a picture of a killer, a man who changed his name and his field of operations with equal frequency. Relentlessly, the officers pursued this man whose outstanding characteristic was a willingness to kill, and kill quickly when cornered. Thus, the search for the killer of William McLean came to a dead end. We turn back the clock now 6 months. Our scene is an all-night market in San Francisco.
Okay, buddy, get him up. This is stick-up.
Don't shoot, mister. Don't shoot.
Stop squawking and give me that jack in the till. Joe, get that dough. This bird's too shaky to stand up.
Okay, Harry, coming up.
Come on, make it snappy.
Hey, Harry, there's a car stopping in front. Let's swim.
Come on.
It's cops. Beat it, hurry.
That's to him. I'll blast my way through him. How you like this, coward?
In the excitement which followed the encounter, the short, swarthy bandit escaped in the fog. His companion was taken to headquarters and grilled.
I tell you, that's all I know about the guy. He come up here with a dame from L.A. That was the car we was driving.
Who was the other man? The one who did the shooting?
Well, his name was Katz. At least that's what I knowed him by. Sometimes, though, he went by the name of Herman. Yeah, Frenchy Herman, too. And his real name, though, is Arax. Harry Arax.
Huh? Who is this girl?
I tell you, I don't know. You'll find her name in that there little notebook you found in our room. She's Harry's girlfriend. She comes from Salt Lake, I think.
Where'd this Arax come from?
I don't know. Somewhere around Fresno.
Okay, Shell. We'll content ourselves with putting you away for the present. We'll take care of Mr. Arax later.
San Francisco police sent Mr. Shull to Folsom, and with quickness and dispatch began the search for his companion in crime. To all points within the state went the bulletin.
Be on the lookout for bandit described as dark-complexioned, 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs about 140 to 150 pounds, hair dark and curly, sharp facial lines. Believe suspect will attempt to contact Ruth Queen, Cola Street, Los Angeles, or Long Beach. Use extreme caution. Suspect is armed and dangerous.
Long Beach police were quick to recognize in this description that of the fugitive wanted by their own department, and while San Francisco's case had reached a dead end, Long Beach began anew the task of tracking down their man. At Fresno, police learned that Harry Arax was known, had participated in the famous Bunyan Derby of 1927. The files of the Fresno Bee yielded a file of pictures, and armed with these, Wood and Guthrow returned to Long Beach to show the pictures to witnesses.
That's the man, all right.
That's the man. I know that face anywhere.
That's the man that came to my shop.
That's the bird that cashed that check.
He's the same one that changed clothes in my store.
That's the man. I'll never forget that face. He's the man.
So the case again came to a dead end. Routine investigation continued, but the trail disappeared. Occasional tips sent Long Beach officers scurrying to capture the elusive gunman, only to have him slip through their fingers. On the afternoon of April 10th, 1935, a bulletin was placed on the bulletin board in the office of the sheriff of Laramie County at Cheyenne, Wyoming. A man paused to look at the new bulletin.
Just a paper hanger at work, eh, Glenn? Well, no, maybe you're right at that, Franson. But that bird there's a paper hanger, not me. What's he done? Started out as a paper hanger, you know, bad check artist. Ended up by murdering a policeman in Long Beach, California. Tough-looking monkey, isn't he? Looks familiar, too. Too tough for deputy county treasurers like you. You go on and count your money. Let us catch the criminals. Yeah, that's an idea you might give some thought to yourself. Just the same, I've seen that bird somewhere. Franson, you read too many detective stories.
I've got it.
What?
That's the dishwasher at the Star Cafe. Come on, I'll show you.
Hold on a minute. You mean that bird's in this town?
That's what I'm telling you. He's washing dishes at the Star Cafe.
I don't believe it, but let's go see. Hey, Holman.
Yeah?
I'm going down to the Star Cafe. If I'm not back in 10 minutes, drive down there and pick us up.
Okay, Sheriff.
Come on, Franson, let's go.
See him through the screen there, right by the sink?
Looks like the bird on that bulletin, all right.
It is, I tell you.
Well, let's talk to him. Hey, you. Over there at the sink. Come here.
Yeah? What's on your mind, fella?
What's your name?
Demas. Bill Demas. Why? What difference does it make?
I don't know. Yet. Don't mind coming over to the sheriff's office for a little chat, do you?
If it's okay with the boss, it's okay by me.
I don't think he'll mind. Come on. Hey, come back here. Stop! Stop!
Get him, Glenn?
No, he got away.
Come on. Let's find out where he lives. He may try to get there and get a gun.
You go find out where he lives. I'll wait for Holman. Meet you in front.
Okay.
Obtaining the suspect's address, the officers arrive at Gordonio's room just as the telephone rang.
Hello. Oh, Harry. Oh, wait a minute.
Just act natural, lady. Tell that bird on the other end of that line you'll do whatever he says.
Yes, sir. Hello, Harry. Yes. Yeah. Okay, 10 minutes. Sure. No, everything's all right. Bye.
Harry Arax?
Yeah. How'd you know?
What did he want?
Oh, he said for me to get his gun in his car and meet him down at the warehouse in 10 minutes.
Okay, get started. You're keeping that date. Ought to be here any minute.
All set, Holman?
Sure. There he is. Let him get almost to the car. Let's take him. Take it easy, buddy. We've got you covered.
What's coming off here?
Get him up, Arax. No funny moves.
That's to you, Covers. You'll have to move faster than that.
Let him have it, Dewey. Didn't seem to stop him, Dewey. Dewey, you're slipping. Took you 3 shots to get him.
In just a moment, we will hear additional facts regarding our program. It is highly significant that more police cars, ambulances, fire engines, and other public-serving automobiles are powered with Rio Grande crack wherever it is sold than any other brand. The pilots of these city and county emergency cars, like an overwhelming number of California's state and federal government officials, demand the best and get it with Rio Grande cracked, the gasoline that is first in public service and always in the tanks of cars owned by those who appreciate getting the most for their money. Would you like police car performance? Then get it. Drive into the nearest red and white Rio Grande station in the morning and give your car a head start with a tank full of Rio Grande cracked, the most highly and justly recommended gasoline that ever caught a public enemy. And again we hear from the chief.
Holman's bullet put Arax in the hospital, painfully but not seriously wounded. Ben Wood and Charles Guthrow brought him back to Long Beach, where he was tried and convicted for the murder of Bill McLean. He is now serving a life sentence in San Quentin. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Lentz.
all cars, attention all cars. A cancellation broadcast 237 regarding a murder. Suspect in this case is now in custody. That's all. Rosenquist.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for Rio Grande. Calling all cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Ventura Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all cars to broadcast 235 regarding a missing person. Be on the lookout for Ray Oswald, described as male American, 5 feet 10 or 11 inches, 150 to 60 pounds. This man was last seen in the vicinity of Somis on September 11. That's all. Rosenquist.
We hear much these days about an adequate defense, and all agree that the United States should be able to successfully defend itself if invaded by enemy forces. We are not looking for trouble, but if trouble comes looking for us, we must be prepared. When it comes to their automobiles, some motorists are attempting to beat off the ruthless attack of such armed-to-the-teeth aggressors as wear, tear, friction, and breakdown with inadequate pea-shooter motor oil. It can't be done, friends. The only language these forces of destruction understand is the last word in modern automotive armed resistance, Realube. This superior motor oil not only defends your motor against the onslaught of extreme heat at your highest speed, it fights back, and never yet has it lost a battle. With a lightning-fast encircling movement, Realube completely surrounds your motor with a protective armor that cannot be dented by the fiery blasts of the enemy. So pure, so entirely free of traitorous sludge, gum, and carbon-forming elements is this 100% paraffin-based motor oil that even freezing weather cannot keep Realube from marching on to perform its appointed duty. Give your motor an adequate defense against the rigors of summer driving, friends. Pilot your mechanized unit into the red and white Rio Grande headquarters nearest you in the morning and rearm with a crankcase full of Realube, the newest and finest motor oil sold in the West. The story we're to hear tonight was taken in the main from files of the office of the Sheriff of Ventura County. We have asked, therefore, that Sheriff Howard Durley of Ventura open our program. Sheriff Durley.
It is not the job of the law enforcement officer to look behind the crime for a motive that may or may not mitigate the offense. It is for the officer to find the criminal and bring him to justice. In the story we are to hear tonight, that is exactly what happened. It is doubtful if the case could have been so successfully concluded without the cooperation of the officers of other law enforcement districts. And in this case stands out another example of that splendid cooperation of police officers that is making the criminal's profession a most unprofitable one. I wish all to especially cite the work of District Attorney William T. Selby and his men in helping solve this case. I shall reserve further comment on the story for the end of the program.
On the morning of October 26th, the telephone in the office of Sheriff Durley in Ventura rang an insistent summons.
Sheriff Durley speaking.
Sheriff, this is Constable Ellis at Camarillo.
Oh, yes, Ellis. What can I do for you?
It's been reported to me that there's something wrong up at one of those cabins close to Somas.
What seems to be the trouble?
Well, as far as I can make out, the place is pretty torn up. And it looks like there's a lot of bloodstains on the floor.
Have you been in the place?
No, it's locked up. I thought it might be best if you sent some of your men down to look the place over.
All right, I'll do that. I'll send Under Sheriff Sider down there right away. He'll pick you up.
Okay, Sheriff. I'll be ready.
Oh, Bill?
Want me, Howard?
Yes. Take Carl Wallace and run down to Camarillo. Pick up Constable Ellis and take a look at the cabin he thinks needs investigating.
What's the matter with it?
I don't know.
Ellis says it's all torn up inside. There's a lot of blood on the floor. Maybe somebody spilled something on the floor that looks like blood, but you better take a look anyway.
You think we better take along one of the DA's men just in case?
Yeah, might not be a bad idea at that. I'll call Arthur Waite, see if he wants to go down there with you. You tell Wallace to get his camera and stuff together.
Under Sheriff Sighter, Deputy Carl Wallace, and Chief Deputy District Attorney Waite sped to Camarillo, picking up Ellis en route. Ellis directed them to the cabin in Somis.
Carl, you better get some pictures of this place from the outside before we go in. I think one of the door and the padlock will be a good one, and then we can shoot a couple through the window.
Okay. We're going to have to break the lock, Bill.
No key?
Well, whoever locked it must have taken it with him. The owner says he didn't have it locked.
Well, won't be much trouble to get in there, I guess. You got your pictures, Carl?
I've got the door and the lock. I'll set up at the window while you're getting the door open.
You got a hammer with you, Ellis?
No, I haven't.
There's one in my box right over there.
All right. Oh, yeah. This ought to do the trick, all right. Man alive, look at that.
Yeah, I told you this place was a mess.
Whoever left this place did it in a hurry.
And how? Oh, better let Carl get some pictures of this stuff before we start moving it.
If you can get a shot from here, I think you can get those stains in.
Yes, I believe you're right. I'll try it here. Do you want some more?
You better get one from the northwest corner, too, Carl.
Okay.
Where did Mr. Waite go?
He's looking over the ground outside.
Looks like those blankets were piled up to hide something.
Yes, and I see what it was. Look. It's a tent pole.
Looks like blood on it.
Here's a hat that was under that bedding.
Stetson. Sold by Evans Style Headquarters in Pomona.
Hey, here's something that may come in handy. A chauffeur's badge issued by the state of Kansas.
Ought to be able to trace that easily enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't see anything else to do around here except take this stuff back to Ventura and tag it for identification.
You know, there's a bare possibility that some of those boys over at the CCC camp might know who was staying here lately.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Hey, let's drive over and have a talk with some of them.
Well, quite a bunch of the boys around.
Yeah, they're through work for the day.
Well, we might as well find out what we can. Hey, boys. We'd like to get a little information from you, fellas.
Oh, sure. Say, what can we do for you?
Have you seen anybody around the cabins up the road here?
Why?
Well, we are just trying to find out if anybody's been seen around that little place on Donlin and Los Angeles Avenue.
Anything wrong up there?
We don't know yet.
I think this man knows something about this.
I do, too.
Hey, where you fellas from?
I'm from the sheriff's office. This is Constable Ellis.
Wow, why didn't you say you were officers? Sure, I seen a couple of fellas around that cabin. Yeah, I seen them up there myself.
That's so? When was this?
Oh, about a month ago. Well, maybe a month and a half.
How did you happen to send the fellows up to that cabin?
Well, I was in camp here one evening about sundown when these two fellas come up, in a car, and I stopped and asked me.
Hey, buddy, any place around here where we can camp out a while?
Yeah, it might be.
Where is it?
Well, there's lots of places where you can camp out, but there's a cabin on this road just a ways. Yeah, right close to Los Angeles Avenue. Nobody's been living there for some time now. Yeah, you ought to be able to stay there.
Yeah, but we can't pay rent on a cabin.
Well, who's going to make you? The place is empty, and the worst they can do if they find you in there is to run you out. Yeah, maybe charge you $1 or $2 for rent.
Guess it's worth trying anyway.
Sure. Hey, so you got a Texas license. You just drive through?
Nope, can work in the orchards over around Redlands.
Well, I think you'll be able to get some work around here. Yeah, if you're looking for it. I'll be seeing you. Then him and this other fellow, they drove on up the road.
Did you see them after that?
Oh, sure. I dropped in on them several times. The older fellow and I had a lot to talk about. You know, me being a CCC camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said he'd been in the Army himself. Yeah, he didn't have any trouble getting a good job whenever he wanted it.
What was the other man like?
Well, he wasn't exactly a man. Well, that is, he looked like a kid. You know, about 17 or 18 maybe. Just a youngster. But he was kind of husky.
What kind of a car was it?
Oh, gray Ford Coupe, I believe.
With a Texas license number, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
Have you seen these fellas lately?
Well, kind of think of it. Bitch, I haven't seen either one of them for more than a month. No, not since the first part of September.
Don't happen to know the names they went by, do you?
Well, let's see now. Well, all I ever heard a youngster call was Floyd. The older man's name was Ray. Oh, Ray something. Yeah, that's right, Ray.
Ever see either of these fellows with a chauffeur's badge on his hat?
Well, I think the young fellow had some sort of a badge. Well, I don't pay much attention to it, though.
Well, we won't worry about that. That'll be easy enough to check up on.
Back in the office, Deputy Wallace dispatched a teletype message to the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles of the state of Kansas, the original place of issue of the chauffeur's badge.
Please forward any information regarding holder of Kansas chauffeur badge number 52769. Urgently need present address if known. Signed, Durley, Sheriff's Office, Ventura County, California.
Badge number 52769, issued to Glengarry, Holton, Kansas. Present address unknown. Permit expired June 1937. Suggest you communicate with Sheriff Singer of Holton. Signed, Neckermer, Motor Vehicle Department.
Sheriff R.E. Singer, Holton, Kansas. Request information regarding present address, Glengarry, resident, your county.
Glengarry, last heard from at Redlands, California. Working fruit ranch. Signed, Singer, Holton, Kansas.
To Sheriff Shea of San Bernardino County and to the Chief of Police of Redlands. Please check on present address of Glengarry, supposed to be in Redlands. Do not question, but wire Durley, Sheriff, Ventura County.
Unable to locate any person by the name of Gary in Redlands. Signed, Shea, San Bernardino.
Department of Motor Vehicles, License Division, Sacramento. Request information regarding motor vehicle registration to Glengarry, Redlands, or anywhere in California.
No motor vehicle registration for Glengarry. No visitor's permit issued in his name. Division of Registration, Motor Vehicle Department, Sacramento.
Unable to make further headway with the information at hand, the officers handled the case, contented themselves with running down every lead, no matter how important it seemed. At last, on January 7th, word came from Sacramento regarding the registration of a car to Glengarry of Redlands. Deputy Wallace immediately conferred with Sheriff Durley.
Well, Sheriff, here's something definite to go on in that Somas case.
New lead?
The Motor Vehicle Department just wired that 2 cars have been registered to Glengarry. One of them is a Cadillac sedan, the other one's a Ford Roadster.
Well, that's something to work on. What address does this fellow give?
Well, on East Pearl Street in Redlands.
I guess